Welcome to this video on personal uses of LLMs, large language models, for musicians. I'm Terry Ewell. I've enjoyed a career of over 46 years as an academic professor and as an orchestral musician. So some of the things I'm going to share with you today build upon that past knowledge, but also on some new skills I've just acquired this year by using AI. Now, think of the important distinction between knowledge and wisdom. 50 years ago, it used to be that knowledge was rather expensive or difficult to obtain. You needed to go to a place with a large library. You needed to be in touch with an expert. You needed to buy a book. Or perhaps you needed to go to a university. But things changed with the advent of the internet and the World Wide Web. And since that time, before 2000, we have seen that knowledge is far more accessible to people. And as a result, cheaper as a commodity. And now more than ever, in 2026, through the access of large language models, LLMs, or artificial intelligence, knowledge is easy to capture. However, the application of knowledge is not so easy. ChatGPT, for instance, is more intelligent than any of us in the room. It has access to knowledge that it can spit out in just seconds. However, ChatGPT and other LLMs are really stupid as well. They do not know how to apply this knowledge to real-life situations. And so this is what I want you to do as a musician, to become very wise about how you apply this knowledge in your life. It's your responsibility for knowing how to apply this knowledge. You are the human in the loop. And you are the one that needs to validate this. You need to be a professional about how you use knowledge from LLMs in your life. Now, before we start applying LLMs and I give you the prompts, let's talk about some of the problems that can happen with that. First is humanization of LLMs. We tend, as people, to view AI and other things as personal, like we are, as people. And the more you converse, the more you interact with your LLM model, the more you're going to want to think of it as a person. And you must set up barriers for that. Here's what I've done. Rather than speaking to it directly as I would to you, I always type in through an interface, always through a computer. So there's a certain distance there. Also, I never let it refer to me by my first name. I always have it call me Dr. Ewell, so that there's sort of a professional distance there. I also give it a name that is one that is not used by anyone else in my life, and that probably you're not even aware of a person ever using that name. So I've got like a secret name for it that I use for it, and that creates a distance as well. I have to work very diligently to make sure that I'm not considering it a person. Now, another thing to be aware of is that anything you post with ChatGPT, other LLMs, is not really private. If you are not paying for a subscription, especially, everything you give to it is information of that company and owned by that company and retained by that company. So don't share anything personal, certainly in the free portals. Now, I pay a subscription to ChatGPT, that's my solution, and I've decided it's more benefit for me to give the personal information to get the results that I need rather than abstaining from it altogether. This video is a follow-up to the prior video where I talk about prompts, and you'll need to see that for further details. Now, prompts for musicians can follow this pattern. And we're going to use 5 principles that ChatGPT has given me, and we're going to talk through these now so that you understand what the prompts look like, so you can develop a prompt that will help you with your interaction with ChatGPT. Assume here that you're a violinist planning a performance of the first movement of Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto, and in 6 months you have that performance. So there's many things you need to do. First off, let's say you've mastered most of the notes and you're familiar with it, but you haven't yet memorized it, and you need to bring it up to performance speed. How can ChatGPT or something else help you with that? Well, that's going to be our goal here now.
Well, terrific. Let's get started on creating a prompt for the musician. First, we're going to create a simple prompt that will give you videos, articles, and books on the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto First Movement. So the first prompt is specify the role explicitly. So we're going to say that ChatGPT is a university music professor in violin performance and an expert on that literature. And it's important to do that so ChatGPT will search in just a certain area rather than do a broad search. Next, we're going to define the task. So we're going to ask for a listing of videos, listing of articles and books, and we want 3 videos of the best versions of the first movement of the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto. And this is not based on the number of viewings, but rather on the performer's expertise and reputation. That'll be interesting to see what ChatGPT does with that. And then we're going to constrain the output. We want the information to be returned in a bibliography that conforms to MLA 9 format, and we want internet links provided. So here is all the prompts cut and pasted there. So I'm going to cut and paste that. Next, I am going to insert that here. And let's see what comes up. Well, let's see what it says. Got verified, scholarly oriented bibliography. And here is our bibliography. Great. Papers, books. Oh, and there's the videos. Okay. So what I will do is go down here, copy it, and then I will paste it into my document. Okay, I've pasted this in a document. I'm going to go to File and Save As and retain this for our next step. So I've saved the file as a bibliography. I've got 3 other files we'll discuss just a little bit later. Okay, now we're going to work on the prompt for your musician's coach. So we're specifying the role. This is a university professor. Notice here it's an expert, this professor, expert in coaching musicians on how to practice without injury, and a motivational master, keeping practice sessions interesting. I love interesting practice sessions, and I hate boring ones. Next, we're going to define the tasks. Look at the responsibilities here. So we're going to be providing a daily practice schedule for up to 1 month, building on the memorization of the first 2 pages of that violin concerto, keeping track of the amount of time, memorization success, tracking performance injuries. Other health concerns are also being tracked. We're going to constrain the output. We're going to put it in a table that's loaded every day. And there's going to be a 3-day running table and advice given in the table. And this is the context. This is really important. We're going to upload documents on memorization, the bibliography, the table sample, and also this rating system for physical and emotional health. We'll be talking about that in a moment. And I want the feedback to be honest and encouraging. So here's the table that I'm going to ask it to create that you would fill out every day. You give the date. We'll talk about that. You'll put down your weight. Workout, that would be what you're doing today. Running, jogging, elliptical, all of that. Your sleep, your practice session time, what passages you've memorized, the tempo. So maybe over a month you want to increase the tempo from, let's say, 116 to 132. and then other comments that you have in here. Let's go on to what is meant by physical emotional, and I find this extremely helpful. I find every day rating myself. How do I feel physically when I wake up in the morning? Do I rate it as a 10, meaning optimal? I've got no pain whatsoever. Very good. Maybe just a little stiffness or something. No really injury concerns, just slight fatigue. Maybe good but managed and things like that. Then I give it a 7 if I really got some soreness or tightness. You might have an issue with your elbow in your bowing arm, things like that. If I have, 6 means really starting to limit things and looking at changing the way I practice and exercise, then 5 is poor, 4 is just simply not trainable there. And then I also assess myself emotionally. How am I feeling in the morning? Am I feeling calm and focused? Do I have a little bit of stress? Am I functional but much more stressed, strained? You can see a 6 is very pressured. Am I on overload? Am I absolutely burnt out? So this numbering system also will guide your coach on how best to tailor perhaps your practice sessions and things like that. So once again, I've gathered all the prompts together. I'm going to cut this and then paste it into ChatGPT. And we just put it right there, put that in there. And then I click on this plus to add the files. Okay, and here are the 4 files I want to upload for it to work. Press open. You can see it's now loading these files here. It's going around there. And click to upload. Okay, this is sort of exciting here. Look at this. It's got 5 parts here. Practice architecture, daily practice template. A Monday integration with the bibliography and everything in there. 3-day running table, immediate coaching and feedback. Look at that. Week 1. It's even got, wow, for a whole month going here. Okay. And, it's got things to do physical preparation. All of that. Look at that. Non-negotiable. Yeah. You have to eliminate. Look at that. It's got analytical memory things, oral memory. It's got a kinetic memory thing, all taken from that memory article I authored. Oh, look at this. You're going to listen to Heifetz on Monday. You're going to study the String magazine by Niles on runs. You can do Hour and Urtext article. Wow, there's some great stuff here. Look at that. Doing the right thing. Okay, encouraging. Okay, it's got the steps here. So you have to now fill out your table and enter the log and start this whole project. Wow, this is exciting. So you can copy it here and then paste it in a separate document.
Remember, you're the human in the loop, and you must use wisdom as to how to apply the information given to you. This could be information about how to avoid tendinitis. This could be information about how to memorize better. You need to know what will work in your particular case. Now, please visit my website, which provides some additional prompts and other information on AI. As you can see, an LLM is a powerful tool that can help you progress in your profession and help you develop more quickly as a musician. I hope that this video has been helpful to you. Thank you. Bye.